Well, hi there. This is Caleb Jones, and this is Unchained CEO, Location Independent Income through your own Location Independent Alpha 2.0 business, setting up an international backup plan, or moving to a less bad country and doing all these things for very little money. Sorry, I'm going to get adjusted here as I'm talking. Never multitask. It's a bad thing to do. Today, we're going to be covering, I'm going to go through my entire business journey, starting from literally zero as a teenager with no money, and literally who couldn't afford to pay his bills, was 18, 19 years old, living alone, to the man of perfection you see before you today. Just kidding. So I'm going to try to go through my entire business journey. I'm going to have to summarize it, a bunch of it, because it's kind of a long journey. I'm an old man. And derive lessons I've learned from that journey so that you can copy what I did. Cool, cool. This is the last, those who watch the video version of this, and by the way, this is a podcast. So if you prefer the audio podcast version, you can go to Caleb Jones, C-A-L-E-B as in boy, calebjones.com/podcast. I'm on the top 10, 12 podcast platforms. Watch the video version of this. This is the last, actually, I'm sharing my screen. Let me unshare this for a sec, and I'll bring that back in a minute. This is my last Unchained CEO podcast from Paraguay for a while, because this Saturday, I'm going back to my main home, which is Dubai. And I'm very excited. And I always have this weird mix of emotions whenever I make these transitions from one home to the other. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to miss Paraguay. Oh, no. And then I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get back to Dubai. Can't wait. Very excited to go back to Dubai for a number of reasons, both financial, business, and personal. And that's the same thing I went through in June when I left Dubai to come to Paraguay. I'm like, oh, I miss Dubai. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go back to Paraguay. It's great. So it's always this weird mix of emotions when you live this multi-home, international-based lifestyle. And of course, you don't need to have multiple homes if you have an international-based lifestyle. That's purely optional. It's something I'm doing. Really fast. Let me share my screen again. So if you see this screen, I'll explain it. This is a meme one of you sent me, and it's from Mike Chase, who I think is a humorist. But anyway, it shows it shows 1993. If you don't get your act together, you'll be living in a van down by the river. Remember that from Saturday Night Live? Chris Farley shows a picture of that. So then it shows 2022, which is really 2024. If you save up $45,000, then maybe one day you could live in a van down by the river. Oh, Western Collapse. See, Western Collapse is funny. Oh, God. I'm in the middle of writing my next book. I'm 100 pages into it. It's regarding Five Flags, Western Collapse, AI, business, okay, that kind of stuff. So I'm 100 pages in, which means I'm about maybe a third of the way done or so. It's hard to say. I'm going to try to get that published by December. And but running a lot of stuff I haven't talked about. It's pretty cool. Okay, let's do a few quick questions and we'll get to our topic. Mr. Jones, you're very polite. What is your opinion on renewing your passport online? It's now an option for Americans. Any negatives? I've never tried it. I just renewed my passport here in Paraguay. It took literally 10 days, faster than if you did it in the United States. I don't know. I think that would depend on, I guess if you're not in any rush and you live in the United States full time, sure, why not? If you live in the US, you're not traveling anywhere, and you don't need it anytime soon. Yeah, why not? If it's an urgent thing, then you need to take other measures. I mean, really funny. It's sad the fact that if you're an American, and also this applies to like UK, some Canadians, if you want your passport renewed really, really, really goddamn fast, you actually will save time if you hop on a plane, fly to another country, and use their embassy instead of using it in the United States or in Canada. Welcome to Western Collapse. Isn't that great? It's awesome. If you picked consulting and wanted to quit your job as fast as possible within 2-3 months, what would you do? What would you avoid? Well, that's a very broad question. I would do everything I talk about in 90-Day Business Builder. I would narrowly niche to a certain type of company. I would charge based on value-based pricing, which if you've gone through my course, the 6-figure location independent consultant, you price based on value. You don't charge by the hour. You don't charge by the day. That's stupid. You don't charge when you're a consultant. And I'd get one big client and I quit my job. It's doable. We've had people do it in the Business Builder. We've had people do that. We've had people in the first few weeks get clients for $5,000, $10,000 in the first few weeks. So yeah. Is Paraguay for younger guys? Would you say it's too boring? Depends on the personality of the younger guy. If you're an extroverted young guy, like to go out to bars and clubs and party, yes, do not come to Paraguay. Go to Brazil, go to Argentina, go to Colombia. Don't come here to Paraguay. You'll be very bored. If you're an introvert younger guy, you might like it. Check it out. You might. If you're a hardcore extrovert, really social, into the social scene and dating scene and, night game, don't come to Paraguay. You'll just complain. Go to Sao Paulo, which is 1 hour that way, which is where I'll be on Saturday. I take a flight from Asuncion, Paraguay to Sao Paulo, which is like an hour, and then a direct flight from Sao Paulo to Dubai, which is like 14 hours. Yeah. Was daylight savings one of the dumbest laws ever passed? It made sense at the time because that's when we had an agrarian farmer-based economy where 98% of Americans were farmers. It made sense. What is stupid is they never rescinded it once people went into the cities and started working. So now the workday begins at 8 a.m. for some fucking reason. There's no reason the workday begins at 8 a.m. That is a holdover from the agrarian age. We never updated it. Human beings are very bad at updating their software, which is why when I say don't go to college, a strong percentage you go, but wait a minute, that's a good idea because it was a good idea in the 1960s, 70s, maybe 80s. It has been a good idea for 25, 30 years, but you still have not updated your software. Okay. On my other channel, I do a lot of that stuff too. Certain things that used to work and don't. Monogamous marriage, things like that. So that's the problem. Caleb, when can we expect the new Unchained Man PDF be available, good sir? October 21st, I think is the announcement. We announced that date a while ago. October 21st. All right. All right. Let me get to my topic. So I started out, so first of all, some of you know bits and pieces of this story. I have covered bits and pieces of this story at my blogs, some in my books. If you know my content really, really well, and you've read a lot of my content and have a good memory, you'll know a big component of this. But I'm going to begin from the very beginning in terms of not my life, but my career, and try to get all the way to, so this is age 18, all the way to now. So when I was 18 years old, I did not go to college. I knew back then in 1990, I graduated high school, graduated in quotes because I didn't graduate. Well, let's talk about that really quick. So in high school, I went to high school from 1986 to 1990. I'm an old man. And so let's see, I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. I did not drop out of high school, even though I really wanted to, because a lot of my friends did. A lot of my buddies dropped out of high school. And I'm like, God, they're so lucky. They have to go to school. School sucks. But I didn't want to do that because for some reason I was an idiot in high school. I thought that I would risk going to jail if I dropped out of high school because it was illegal. Today, absenteeism has skyrocketed. I've just covered the statistics of the book I'm writing. But back in the 80s, that was kind of a big deal to drop out of school. Kids did it, but it was unusual because America wasn't collapsing back then. So I stayed in school and just put up with it. Now, I got very bad grades on purpose. So instead of doing my homework, I'd be in the back of the room reading business books. So literally I remember doing this. I'd be in the back of the room in Algebra 2 class. I'd have my algebra book in front of me, and I had my business book inside it so the teacher couldn't see. And of course, the teacher wasn't stupid. She'd say, "How's the book, Caleb?" And they'd roll their eyes. Teachers did not like me. I said, "It's great," because you don't sit there and read an algebra book like a novel, right? So anyway, I got very bad grades, and I did not graduate high school. When I went to high school, I don't know how it works now, but when I went to high school, you need a certain amount of credits to graduate. And if you attended all your classes and you didn't fail your classes, you got 3 more credits than was required to graduate, or two more credits than was required to graduate. So you've got an F in the class and didn't make up the F. You deducted 1 credit. So I got 3 Fs. So I was 1 credit shy of graduating high school. My mom was furious. My dad was mildly upset. So I was able to go to the graduation ceremony, but when they handed the little placard with the graduation certificate in there, I opened mine and there's nothing in there because I didn't graduate. And so that entire summer after high school graduation, 1990, because my mom's a teacher, okay? I come from, those of you who don't know, I come from a very highly educated family. My mom has, so let's go through it. My dad has a PhD and 2 or 3, I forget, master's degrees. My mom has 2 master's degrees. My sister has a master's degree. One of my brothers has a bachelor's degree. I don't have shit. I don't even have a high school diploma because you don't need education to make a lot of money, as I've been saying 10,000 times. So anyway, my parents were furious. So my mom that summer pressured me to go to summer school to get that one credit so I could get my high school diploma. And she said, you'll be a loser. You'll be a bum on the street if you don't have a high school. No one will hire you. You can never start a business. You'll be fucked if you don't get your high school diploma, Caleb. And she just ranted and screamed at me for like 6 months on this. Of course, I did not do that because I'm not stupid. Even then, I wasn't stupid. I was stupid at other things, but not that. I said, education is a waste of time. By then, I had saw what Bill Gates did, dropped out of college and made billions. And I said, I don't need school to make a bunch of money. This is so stupid. So anyway, my first job, several odd jobs. My first job that year, so I was 18 years old, was, so let me back up. I was able, I'm trying to figure out the order which these things happen. This is so long ago. My first job, my first real job was doing data entry. So if you're watching the video, and I'll describe this if you're doing the audio, this is what I did all day for 8 hours a day. Okay, ready? I did this. So if you're listening to the audio, with my right hand, I'm typing into a 10 key. Okay, I'm typing numbers. And my left hand, I'm pulling papers, staring at the paper all day long. I did this for 8 fucking hours a day, getting more than minimum wage, but still not much. 8 hours a day. It was in a little room in a medical office with like 7 or 8 people. All the people in the room were doing this. I was the only boy in the room. They were all overweight, middle-aged women. And I'm the only boy, and I'm 18 years old. And I'm just doing this. And this goes back to a severe problem with the millennial generation in particular, where they seem to think that their first job, they need to be a manager, a supervisor, or running things. And they're like, well, why not? And as I've explained to many young people over many decades, including my own children, including many of you in my audience who are young, including people I've known, men in particular, a lot of women too, women I've dated, your first job sucks. That's how it works. Your first job is fucking terrible, and you're going to hate it. And you're going to hate it for a long time. And that's normal. That's how capitalism works. If you don't like capitalism, move to North Korea, then you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about 10,000 other things. But if you don't like it, then go be a communist. Otherwise, the way capitalism works is your first job is fucking awful. Many of you have first jobs in fast food restaurants. Many of your jobs in, digging ditches. I mean, at least I didn't do physical labor, but I had to do this fucking thing for 8 fucking hours a day, and I hated it. I mean, I was like, you walk outside and the light is so blinding. She's like, oh my God, because you've been in this coffin for 8 hours. I fucking hated every minute of it. And that's the way it works. Your second job, by the way, also sucks. By the time you get your third job when you're really young, it sucks, but it's tolerable. So I was able to move out because I knew then what I've talked about in my other channel, you need to move out of your home as quickly as possible when you're a young man, or these days a young woman. Get the fuck out of there because you have no freedom. And I knew this, especially with my parents screaming at me about school and shit like that. So I got the hell out of there, and I was able to get rented a small apartment, and I had a little rinky-dink little car. And hang on. 18 years old, living by myself. Now, and my cat, I had my cat Mozzie, and I was barely able to pay my bills. I've talked about this many times. What I figured out was I was constantly late on all my utilities, and I figured out back then the electric company would let you pay up to almost 4 months late. So if you paid 3 or 4 days before 120 days or 180 days, they wouldn't shut off your electricity. So I was late on all my bills, getting late notices all the time. There were days I couldn't put gas in my car. It sucked. It was awful. And I said, this sucks. I cannot live like this. I need to make a lot of money. And this was an extension of when I was raised. I was a kid, when I was a little kid. Now, by the time I was, like 30, my dad became a millionaire himself, self-made. But I was already moved out of the house by then. And by the time I was in high school, he had some money. But when I was a little kid, my dad had no money. He was a married man with 5 kids, supporting a family of 7 on a lower income job in the 1970s and 80s. He was the last generation of men who could do that back in the United States before the collapse. So I hated being poor. I couldn't stand it. So finally, I tried to apply for a job as technical support. This is before everything was outsourced to India. This is 1991 now. And is that right? Yeah. And I applied for this job. I really wanted it badly because it paid a lot. It paid like $23,000 a year back in the early 90s. So this is like 50 grand today. And this is with, again, no college degree, no high school diploma, no nothing. And I've written this, I talked about this story in my blogs. I went in, I did the interview, I gave them my dumb little resume, which just said high school on it. That's all I had, plus the odd jobs I did on the side. Then my stupid data entry job. And they said, okay, we need people who are technically savvy. You're clearly somewhat technically savvy. You need to pass this DOS test. So back then, this was when computers used MS-DOS. Those who are old like me, old nerds, you remember the days of MS-DOS. This is like DOS 5.1 and Windows 3.1 back in those days when Windows was cool and new. So I had to take this DOS test and I failed it because I was used to things like Commodore 64 and Apple II and BASIC. I didn't understand DOS. Okay, I failed it, so I didn't get the job. So I'm like, all right. I went out and I bought a DOS book. And matter of fact, one of the DOS books that came with, it was a DOS book that came with a piece of hardware. You know, it might have been the DOS book that came with the DOS disks. I forget. But I used this. I studied DOS. I tried to learn about DOS. Interviewed for the job again. Failed it again. Okay. Same company, same job. Failed again. Failed the test. Did not get the job. Several months later, I went back. And so what I kept doing is I would print out my resume and I would drive all the way out to the office. It was like a half an hour away from my house back then. And I would hand deliver my resume and hand deliver a letter to the HR manager. I'm 18 years old. And I kept doing over and over and over. And I kept bugging this guy and bugging this guy and bugging this guy and bugging this guy and bugging the receptionist because I wanted this fucking job. Because this would solve a lot of my problems. Maybe. Got a third interview. Barely passed the stupid DOS test. Got the job. I was the youngest person in the entire company. You can Google this. The name of the company was it's long gone now, Central Point Software in Beaverton, Oregon. And it's a company that made a thing called PC Tools, which was a set of DOS utilities. Later, they made some Windows utilities and some antivirus stuff. They were in competition with Norton Antivirus, which was a thing again back then, pre-Symantec. Excuse me. So I worked in this little cubicle for $23,000 a year, which was $50,000. So this is as if, visualize today, an 18-year-old boy, no college degree, no high school diploma, he gets his first job, his first real job. I mean, I had jobs, but his first like corporate-y job, $50,000 a year. Not bad. Pretty good. And this just reinforced in me when I got that job, working hard and persisting works. It works. When I got that job, I was so happy. I couldn't holy shit, it worked. Me busting my ass and doing these things worked. So that's when it started clicking in my head. Sitting around and making excuses doesn't work. Working hard and persisting works. Because I hated being poor. I hated being poor. When I was a little kid and when I was 18 living alone by myself, could barely pay my fucking rent. Couldn't stand it. I have talked a lot about people I have known personally. Some of you, unfortunately, in this category, where you're poor and they're poor for like forever. And they hate it, but they don't mind it. It's like, yeah, this sucks. And they bitch and moan about it, but they don't do anything about it because I don't understand their mindset. They get used to being miserable. I don't understand it. Because I've known many people who are they're poor. 5 years later, they're still poor. 10 years later, they're still poor. And they're still complaining they can't pay their bills and my car got repossessed and I can't do this and I can't do that. Well, why don't you get off your ass and go to work? And they don't do that for whatever reason. I'm more like, and Tony Robbins said this in the 90s with Personal Power cassette tapes they used to listen to back then. And Tony Robbins said it, and when I heard it, back in the 80s, 90s, I related to this perfectly. The reason I'm successful, Tony Robbins said, is not because I'm smarter or it's not because I work hard. It's not why. A lot of people work hard and aren't wealthy, right? If just working hard made you wealthy, every Mexican housekeeper in Los Angeles would be wealthy, right? It's not working. So instead, he said, it's because I have a low threshold for pain. I don't like being in pain. I hate it. As soon as I'm in pain, I go, oh my God, and I get out of pain as fast as I can. That's me. I hated being poor. A lot of people don't seem to mind it for some reason I don't understand. On my other channel, Alpha Male 2.0, I relate the same way with my dating life. I can't talk about this channel. Anyway, so I got to work. So went to work at this job, started making some money. was able to upgrade into I bought my first piece of real estate when I was 19. So I got the job 4 or 5 days before I turned 19 years old. Pretty good. Was able to buy a condominium, little condo back in 1991. This is right before the real estate boom. So by the way, this was in the middle of a recession. 1990, 91, 92 was a recession. It's a recession everybody forgot about. It was the outsourcing recession. So I was able to do this in the middle of a recession. I didn't say, well, there's a recession. I can't. No, I was able to do it. Got a used piece of shit sports car because that's what I drove in your 20s. That's what you drive when you have a little money. I didn't have money, but I had a little bit of money. Still had a lot of problems. Still mismanaged my money. Still often was late on my bills, even though I made more money. Didn't know what the hell I was doing, taxes and stuff like that. I did start working very hard. I studied everything. I became a true blue DOS expert. To this day, I have all this knowledge about DOS 6.22 back in 1992 that I will never need. And those of you who are older and are nerds and you remember this stuff, like how do you manage conventional memory with DOS? You have that first 640K, then you have expanded memory and you have extended memory, and extended memory is contiguous and expanded is swap memory. In order to free up memory, you have to go into your config sys and your autoexec.bat, and you see all this stuff I have in my head that's completely useless. All this became useless within 5, 6, 7 years. But at the time, I knew my shit. So, and whenever they had overtime, sometimes they had required overtime because it was technical support. We had to take incoming calls and support, customers who couldn't figure out their fucking DOS utilities, right? And sometimes it was busy, and they said you have to come in on the weekends. And all the normal guys would go, God damn it, they bitch them. I'd be so happy because I was a single young guy, no kids, no wife, no girlfriend. I wasn't dating anyone. I wasn't having any sex, just working. And I'm like, awesome, overtime, yay. So, worked very hard, but had lots of problems. One time, still behind on my bills and stuff, even though I was making more money, I just didn't know how to do it because I was a teenager. One time I was driving home from work, and I drive my car. It was a Datsun 280Z, 1981 black. I loved that car because it looked like Knight Rider inside. Everything was digital, and it would talk. A woman's voice would say, parking brake is on, or left door is open. I'd be like, shut up, bitch. So I love that car. So the car on the way home, I always had trouble with it. It was always breaking down, and then I couldn't fix it. So I drive around on, and then make it worse. So I'm driving home one day from work to my little crappy apartment, and I hear the car going, and suddenly this green fluid, probably antifreeze, starts leaking out of where you put your feet, your footwell, on the passenger side. So all this green goop is like gushing out of like below the glove compartment, going on the carpet. And I'm like, that's just fucking great. I'm like, I'm not pulling over. I'm almost home. I'm going to make it home, and then I'll figure this out when I get home because I am not walking home. We didn't have Uber back then. You had to call a taxi or you had to walk, and you can't call it. And we didn't have cell phones. I ain't going to call it. Trust me. It's a very different world back then. Pre-internet, pre-internet, pre-cell phone. So I'm going, well, fuck this. I'm getting home. And I'll figure this out later. And if I have to call in sick to work, I'll deal with it. Love that car though. So it gets worse and worse. So now steam is coming out of the front of the car, and it's starting to make weird noises of like driving. I'm like, come on, man, 4 more minutes. Come on, baby, you can do it. 4 more minutes. So I get off the main road, go up the hill because I was up on a hill, and I go to a stop sign. I stop, and the engine goes, and this right in front, there's this grill. So on a 280Z, there's this little bit of the grill on the left-hand side only for like air resistance or whatever. And this little flame of fire goes and pops out of the front grill of my car. And I'm just staring at this saying, my fucking car is on fire. I didn't get mad or didn't get sad or scared. I just got really mad. I'm like, I hit the gas, nothing happens. I'm like, God damn it. All right, great. So slowly and angrily, I remember this day, it was 30 years ago. I get my little work bag, I take all my stuff and put it in the bag, open the glove compartment, get all the stuff out, put it in the bag, I throw it in the bag, and there's shit in the bag, and I throw that in the bag, and I get out, and I just stand at the car, and now the flames start consuming the entire front of the car. And of course, what do I hear behind me? Woo! Whoop! I'm like, great, there's a cop. So the cop actually right in front of me in the intersection. So the cop gets on his loudspeaker. Sir, what the hell's going on? I'm like, I'm just like, my car's on fire. It's like, all right, stand still. I'm going to call the fire department. So he calls the fire department, and I'm just standing there. The car is now completely on fire. The guy's literally like, sir, you might want to step away from the vehicle. I'm like, okay. So I got to walk away from the car. I'm staring at my car, and it's melting, and I'm so mad. But I'm so oblivious. The guy's like, will you step away the fucking car? Because the car might explode and kill you, dumbass. So anyway, these are the kind of problems I had. It was a very chaotic, inconsistent life. Eventually, I worked at that job for 2.5 years, and I got fired. And the reason I got fired was because, as I've observed on my blogs, men in their 20s tend to be very reactive. They get very mad about little shit. So a lot of the internet drama, internet anger you see are men in their 20s. Men in their 40s don't care. But men in their 20s get all pissed off about little tiny things. Don't you men in your 20s? You know who you are. So that was me. I was in my early 20s. And so I was super pissed. And I would watch the supervisors and the managers of the department do all these wrong things and fuck shit up. And I thought here's the next problem. You're a man in your 20s and you have a higher than average IQ. Now you're insufferable because you think you're smarter than everybody else and you think the whole world's stupid. That was me. My daughter is going through this now. She's a woman in her 20s, very smart, thinks everyone's stupid. And she says these things like, oh, I remember saying that shit. So anyway, I would send these very angry emails. This is before they had email and internet, but we had internal corporate email back then, LAN-based email. And I would fire off these emails like, you guys don't know what you're doing. It was like this before, and then you screwed this up, and I can't believe it. What you should have done is this, and I had no people skills. I had no people skills at all. I was a hardcore, young, inexperienced INTJ who was a nerd, which means I had no people skills, which is something I would have to fix later. So I pissed a lot of people off. And then finally one day I got so mad. My job was to make outgoing calls to do callbacks. I got so mad about this, I stopped making calls. I would sit at my desk, read business books on how to start my own business, because that's what I wanted to do. I was just biding time to start my own business on this stuff. And I would just dial random numbers or like dead numbers and hang up so it would show up on the little report that I was making outgoing calls. And I did that for a while. I don't know how long I did it. Finally, the people figured out that I was doing this because I was a little shit, because I should. By the way, don't do that. Don't be a shit like this. I'm not saying what you should do. I'm saying the stupid, dumbass shit I did when I was pretty much a teenager, 20, 21 years old, a little turd. I was a little rat turd. I was so stupid. So anyway, but young guys do stupid shit. So I got fired. Now, I had already started looking around for another job by then because I was so mad at this job. And what I really wanted to be was a computer consultant. Now, back then, we didn't use the word IT. That term was not developed in the early 90s. That came in the late 90s. So it was not called an IT consultant. It was a computer consultant. I wanted to be a computer consultant. That's what I wanted my business to be. Helping people and companies fix computer problems. You pay me by the hour. Okay. That was my view. This is before, Alpha 2.0, and this is before location. I had no concept. I just wanted to have my own business so I didn't have to have a fucking job. So I interviewed with a person I met when I did some work for my dad's business. My dad had a small mental health counseling company. And in high school, I would help him do data entry on his computers because no one else knew how to do it. And he paid me a little money, not much. And I'd take the bus all the way down. It was a nightmare. I did that for a little bit. And I met a computer consultant who worked in his building. His name was Ted. And so during this job, I called up Ted and I said, hey, do you still need computer consultants? He's like, actually, yeah, we do. I'm like, oh my God, I would love to interview. I'd love to get the opportunity. Please, 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 please. I love you. I love you, Ted. So I went and interviewed, and he hired me as an associate, which means you're not an employee. What it means is they used to, back in those days, and they still do, I guess, charge out by the hour. So they said, we're going to send you out to our clients. We're going to charge you out by the hour. You get a percentage of every hour you bill. Kind of like being an associate low-end attorney, same way it works. You don't get a salary. So if you don't get any billable hours, you get nothing. If you get billable hours, you get a lot, but you make a lot. Okay. So I said, okay, fine. Anything's better than being on salary. I hated being on salary because for my prior job, I would say things like, can I take 2 weeks off work? No, you can't do that because you're on salary. Then I would say, if I come in and work double, If I come in on stay late on evenings, I really talk to my bosses at this first job. If I come in on evenings and weekends, and to your satisfaction, I'm doing work and I'm getting shit done, can you pay me double? They're like, no, you're on salary. Salary means you get this. And once a year, you get your fucking 2% raise. I said, this is bullshit. By the way, by this point, I was in the top 10% of the department. I remember this. There were 60 people in the department that would measure you by your phone times. So if you were stupid, your phone calls were like 15 minutes, 20 minutes long because you didn't know how to help the customer. If you were smart, you fixed the customer, got them off the phone, and took in the next customer. So my phone times were, I assume these numbers, like 7-8 minutes. So I'm the top 10% of the department. I said, look, I'm already in the top 10% of the department. Clearly, I know what I'm doing. They're like, no. What would your coworkers think? Because that's the corporate world. The corporate world is you are paid based on your job title. You are not paid based on how much money you make for the company. They were making a lot of money from my work, but they weren't paying me because that's how salary works. Salary sucks. Okay, so at this new job, he's talking about, look, you're not going to be on salary. You're going to be paid based on a percentage of hours you bill, and that's it. So if you don't bill any hours, sorry, you don't get fucking paid. Or if you bill, a few hours, you get paid $800 that month and you can't pay your bills. If you bill a lot of hours, you're going to make a shitload of money, Caleb. And you're only 21 or 22 hours old I was. I said, dude, I'm there. Bro, I'm there. So then Ted said, so he hired me. He hired me, and then the first day I come in, and he says, now I got to have a little discussion with you. Now let me discuss how I looked back then. Okay. This was, again, it's coming out of the 80s, early 90s. I had big 1980s rock star hair. You want a perfect example of the hair I used to have? Like this, almost like a mullet, but like a big mullet, not like a Joe Dirt mullet, but like, you can Google this. You can Google a picture of Richard Marx, M-A-R-X. That guy said, endless summer night. That guy. Google him in the 80s. He had this big, like rock star mullet hair, long in the back. I had a ponytail because I thought Steven Seagal was cool. Yeah. Oh, I had an earring. I had a fucking earring. Because there was a brief segment in the late 80s where earrings were cool, then they went away. They came back later a little bit, but I had a fucking earring. And I just wore jeans and a t-shirt. He's like, all right, Caleb, here's the deal. You want to work here, you got to be professional. You got to cut your hair. Can't have hair like that. Sorry, you got to cut your hair. Number two, earring comes out. No earring. Can't wear an earring in these people's offices. What the fuck are you doing? And I didn't fight him on this. I said, instead of going, today, a Gen Z or a millennial go, well, that's bullshit. I should be allowed to express myself. Back then, I'm like, bro, I want money. I will do whatever the fuck you tell me to do. If I got to cut my hair, I will cut my hair. I will take this out. He goes, you got to get a suit. You got to get a tie. You got to get some slacks. You got to get a button-down shirt. And I'm making a note. Okay, I'll get that. Okay, fine. I'll do whatever the hell you want, bro. Give me the money. I don't care. So I literally not only got a haircut, I like buzzed all my hair off. Like a buzz, like zzz, like with a 3 or a 4, like a shaved head. Not shaved head, but like hair, buzz. When they do like the clippers for like 5 or 6. Looked totally different. Took the earring out, got a suit. Now it was a terrible suit. I didn't know how to dress. I looked like a dumbass. I looked like those, 24-year-old guys you see walking the side of the road. They're the Mormon missionaries, and they're all wearing suits and ties. And they look like little boys wearing suits and ties. So that's how I looked. I didn't look very good, but I looked a lot better. But I'm like, fine. Whatever it takes, man. And I started working, and I busted my ass. And I was very excited to be a consultant. I learned about Novell networks. I learned about what was it called? Landtastic. All these old network systems from the early 90s. Of course, Windows 3.1 and, all this shit. And Windows NT when it came later. I came in on the weekends and studied servers and how servers worked. I would go out to clients. I would service the clients. I would look for other things. I wanted my billable hours. I said, oh, by the way, while I'm here, I can fix that. Oh, you can? Okay, go ahead. Oh, awesome. And I'd fix this and fix that, and fix this and fix that. And I would rack as much hours as I could. And within a few months, I was making, so let me rewind. When I was at that first horrible job that I hated, when I used to take a break, we were allowed one 15-minute break in the morning and one 15-minute break in the afternoon and a half an hour lunch. So during my 15-minute break, I would go outside, I'd walk. It was way out in the middle of these fields. Beaverton, Oregon, back in early 1990s. So it wasn't developed back then. This big corporate center and then all these fields around. So I walk around these fields and I would fantasize, I make $50,000 a year. This is $50,000 in $1991, okay? I make $50,000. Man, if I made $50,000 a year, oh my God, I'd be rich, bro. I'd be set for like 50,000. Wouldn't that be amazing? I remember thinking, wouldn't that be amazing? Like $50,000 a year. Oh my God. I don't know if I could ever make that much money. So fast forward now, I'm at this second job as a computer consultant. Within 6 months, I am making the monthly equivalent of $50,000 a year. So if you adjust for inflation, that's almost like a six-figure income, I think. Yeah, it's got to be a six-figure income today. And I'm 22, 23 years old, no college degree, no high school diploma. Now, I still don't have my own business. Don't have that yet. I'm working for someone else. And, well, I'll discuss that in a minute. So now I'm making, for the first time, I'm making real money. And I'm learning how to do things like buy a suit that looks good and get a tie that looks good and tie the tie correctly, Caleb. And so I look like a dork. Now I look a little more like a businessman, although a very young businessman. I'm still a moron. So I don't know how to pay my own taxes. So I kept fucking up my taxes. I would be late on my taxes. I'd have to pay penalties on my taxes and interest on my taxes. I was constantly fucking up my taxes. I didn't know how to manage my money, but I was making money. So I got a better condominium. I bought a bunch of computers. I bought 7 different computers. I bought an Amiga. So if you nerds who are old like me, I'll give you some nerd memories. I bought a turbo, one of those compact turbo Commodore 64s. I bought an Amiga 500. I bought an Amiga 3000. I had my normal PC where I was playing Ultima 7 Part 2 Serpent Isle back then. I had, what else did I have? TI-99, TI-994A, and 1 or 2 other computers. So I had like a computer room in my apartment. I had the bedroom. I had the big living room with the fish tank and the Playboy channel because I'm 23. And then I had this room called the computer room. And I had all these desks. I remember visualizing it. This low blue light and all these computers turned on. And I would put on screensavers on all the screens. Like, cool. Then I got a new Z car. Instead of a 280Z, I got a 1985 300 Nissan, not Datsun, Nissan 1985 300ZX. It was red. I hate red, so I had it painted black. Cool. Now, again, it's still an old car. Okay, it's still an old piece of shit car, but it was fast. Stick shift was awesome. I love that car. I love these old cars I used to have. Then, let's see. Should I answer questions? You guys are asking me questions about what I'm doing right now. All right, let me answer a few questions about this segment of the story, and then I'll get on the next piece. Because you guys are asking me questions that won't make sense at the end. And those of you not, I will go back and rewind and answer those at the end. My first real job was working at IT help desk for a state government agency. Yes, it sucked. The pay was awful. Yeah, it was awful. Yep. Z's are badass. They're awesome. Yep. How do you stop getting sensitive and touchy from what people say to you? One of you are saying grow up. I will talk about that because that's the next part of my evolution because I had to learn. How did you manage to move out of poverty, which is pressing me now? What I just said. I found an avenue which made decent money, and I worked really fucking hard at it without making any excuses. Let me summarize that statement because that's the answer. Those of you who are really poor, I found an avenue that made a lot of money. Some of you are working at avenues that don't make a lot of money. Like, I'm an Uber driver. That doesn't make a lot of money. I'm sorry. Okay. An avenue that has the opportunity to make a decent amount of money. For me, it was computer consulting in the early 90s. Okay. Because the way that would work is they would bill me out at like $80 an hour, $100 an hour, and they'd pay me $50 an hour or $40 an hour, not to work, not an 8-hour workday, because I would never get 8 hours in one day. I might get 3 or 4 in a workday. That's still a lot of money. Okay. So I found an avenue that gave me the opportunity to make a lot of money quickly. And I worked really hard at it because I worked 7 days a week back then. Still do. 7 days a week, hard, without making a bunch of millennial and Gen Z lazy excuses. You millennials, Gen Zs, Lissigs, I didn't make those excuses. Now, I'm not saying I didn't complain. I did complain. I complained about all kinds of things. I'm still a guy in his 20s who gets pissed off about everything. So I'm still complaining about shit. Okay. And I wasn't getting laid. So now I'm really stressed out. So I talked about my woman story on my other channel. We'll talk about that some other time. So I'm not saying I didn't complain. I didn't make excuses. Well, I don't want to do that because I would say, all right, I'll do it. I don't want to do it, but I'll do it. I want money. I don't care if I have to work. You said, I know you said college doesn't make sense. I'm working on getting my Alpha 2.0 business, but someone at my job judged me and said to get a degree because of layoffs. How to respond? The answer is layoffs only affect employees. I'm not going to be an employee for the rest of my life. If you, Joe, are going to be an employee the rest of your life, yeah, go to college. I'm not going to be an employee. I'm going to have my own business. That way no one can lay me off. That's the answer. First of all, I don't have any capital. How can I start a business or change my background? My first company, which I'm about to tell you how I started, didn't cost me any money. If you join 90 Biz Builder, you have to spend any money. You gotta join 90 Biz Builder. This business right here, Unchained CEO, which is an evolution from Alpha Male 2.0, which is an evolution from Black Dragon. I started this company. This is a 7-figure company. I started this company for $29. You don't need money to start a business. You don't need capital. I didn't have any capital back then. How many jobs did you have to apply to get that role? Here's the secret. A few, but the reason it worked is I already knew the person. I used my network instead of going on monster.com and applying for 10,000 jobs. The fastest, easiest ways to get a job for those of you who are very young and don't have a business yet is to do it through your network, through people you know or friends of people you know. By the way, the inverse is also true. When you have your own business, you're hiring people, the best way to hire people is ask your current people who you work with, who do you know who's good at blank? You don't go out to the open world and interview strangers. So that's how I made it work. I talked to a guy I had already met. And he knew me as this young, dumb teenager, but I was very motivated. And when I interviewed with him, I did a lot of interviews. I said, look, I am willing to do anything. I want to make a lot of money. I want to be a successful computer consultant. That is my dream in life because it was back then. I will work 7 days a week. I will work all day. I will work all night. By the way, I wrote an article at my other blog, Alpha 2.0 blog, about the advantages that you have at different age ranges. And I said, the advantage of a younger man is you don't have a lot of overhead. So the advantage of a young guy or young woman is that you can work 100 hours a week if you want to. So you can tell prospective employers, you can hire some 45-year-old guy who'll bitch and moan. He has to come in on a weekend or stay an extra hour late because he'll miss his kids, which is true. Or you can hire me, Mr. 22-year-old. I will work 7 days a week. I will work at nights. I will do whatever I will be your goddamn slave. And I meant it. That's how you make money. And that's how you get jobs. He's like, all right, take a chance on you. Even though you have Richard Marx hair and a fucking earring. All right. So, what happened? So during this time is when I started my own side business. I knew my future was not working with anyone, including Ted, who was a big mentor to me back then. I started my own business on the side. What did I start doing? Computer consulting for little tiny companies who didn't care. Well, Caleb, if you start a business side, so that was a challenge. Well, how are you going to help offices in a location-dependent fashion if you work all day? You do it at night or on weekends. You just find little flexible companies, or you help individuals, which is what I did. So I started telling everyone what I knew. Do you have any computer problems? Do you know anyone with computer problems? Oh, yeah, I have this computer. We just bought this thing called a scanner. This thing called a scanner looks like a copy machine. How do we hook that up? I'll hook it up for you. I charge X per hour. I forgot what I charged back then. Oh, you can? Okay. So I'd start doing that. So I'd work for Ted during the day and sometimes weekends, usually not. And for myself on the weekends and nights, building up my own client list. Finally, I left that job and I don't remember why. It wasn't because there was any problem. There was a change in the business and I don't remember why I left, but here's how I left. I sat down with Ted and said, here's the deal. I need to leave because of X, Y, and Z. And he kind of understood. He said, yeah, good idea. I'm going to go work. No, first I found another job before I left. So I was interviewing while I had a job. And I got a job at First Interstate Bank. I'll talk about that in a second. So I had this job lined up already. So I sat down with Ted and I said, look, here's the deal. These clients you have over here, because I had a bunch of his clients that he was serving under his umbrella, right? These few clients over here, which I really liked, and Ted didn't give a shit about because he was focused on his big clients. So his little clients that were little to him but big to me, that's another thing I learned. Clients that are little to one person are gigantic to someone else. I use this over and over again in my 20s. So he had a whole bunch of client companies. He was focused on the big clients that were paying him 6 figures a year. Okay. He didn't give a shit about these little piddly clients. But to me, that was like thousands of dollars a month for these little piddly clients. I said, how about this? This client, I give him a list of like 4 or 5 client accounts. This client, this client, and this client, and this client. Could I just take those off your hands? Just take them. You don't care about them, do you? Plus, whenever they call me. They don't call you. So if you started working with them, they'd be like, where the fuck is Caleb? I don't want to talk to you. And he knew that. He's like, yeah, that's probably true. It's like, I just take these clients. Now, what I could have done is offer to pay him a percentage, but I didn't. I was probably too dumb to do that. Can I just take them? Just take them and you could keep your, He's like, yeah, that's fine. So he gave me 3-4 client accounts, which is a lot back then when you're trying to start your own business. So now I have these 3 or 4 little accounts, little companies who are paying me. And now they start paying me directly instead of paying him and taking a cut. So I reduced the hourly rate on their end so they can work more hours. And I got 100%, not 100%, I got a lot more per hour. Okay. So now I have my own little clients on the side, my new little client portfolio on the side. And now I have a new job you can Google this. The bank doesn't exist anymore. It's called First Interstate Bank. It's this was a big, giant corporate U.S. bank in the United States. And I worked at their corporate offices, not in a branch, in the IT department. And I was in a team with 5 guys. And we worked at the Montgomery Park building in downtown Portland, Oregon. Remember doing this? It was a pure 8 to 5 type job. So at 5 o'clock, I clocked. There was no overtime. I clocked out of there and I could go work for my clients. Awesome. Around this time, I bought another house and started buying more real estate. So I would rent out the condo I owned, rented that out. I'd buy a second house, then a third house. I put all my money into investments. I didn't blow it on stupid shit. Okay. So eventually I was hired with me and a friend of mine named Derek. So we were like the senior guys because we had 4 years of experience as a computer consultant. And he had experience too. So we were hired as the 2 senior guys in this group of 5 people. Derek left the company, went somewhere else. So I was the last senior guy left. So the boss over the 5 of us made me in charge of the little team. So now I'm 24 years old, managing a group of like 4 or 5 people, most of them in their 30s. And I'm a maniac. We did all kinds of stupid shit. We would do shit like, hey, should we get some free pizza? Yeah, let's order pizza. So we'd order like $100 worth of pizza. And then I had a little account where I could bill it to the company. I would just bill it to the company. And so we kept doing this over and over again. Finally, my boss called me one day. I don't remember his name, but he was an asshole. He would call me and like, what the fuck is all these fucking pizza parties? What the fuck is this $100 for a pizza party last week? I'd be like, well, Larry's kid won his soccer game. God damn it, Caleb. I don't want to see more fucking pizza party. Like, all right, I won't. Still did it. Still got yelled at. Didn't care. Things like, I'm lucky I didn't get fired from this job. I didn't, but I could have. I was a little turd back then. So things like we had these boxes that we had to store for these servers, empty, big, giant cardboard boxes that you could not compress down because you had to put stuff in them. So we would put them, it was a hollow building. When you look upside, you have all these beautiful offices. So we put them out in the balcony. So one day, there was a guy back then named Bill Nato. He's this Japanese businessman who like owned Portland. He was like the Portland, Oregon version of Donald Trump. He owned everything. And so he owned the building. So one day he comes through his entourage and he looks up the building and he sees this pile of garbage and crap up in our offices. He's like, what the hell is that? I'm like, oh, I don't know, sir. Well, he said, you get rid of that garbage. It's nice. So you get rid of the garbage immediately. Yes, Mr. Nato. Yes. So the next day, this little guy comes knocking on our door. Hi, I'm with the Office of Building Management. I'm like, yeah, I'm like 24. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, whatever, dude. He's like, the boxes that you have out there, those need to be moved in because Mr. Nato came by and said it was an eyesore, so they need to be moved. I said, okay, sure. All right, thank you. He left. We didn't, and the guy's like, so we're gonna move the boxes. I'm like, no, fuck them. So we left the boxes out. So then, like weeks later, another guy comes in, different guy. Yes, I'm with the Office of Building, another building department. These boxes out here need to be moved. That's a violation of Mr. NATO, violation of fire code. You need to move those boxes. All right, you need to move those boxes, okay? Okay, guys? I'm like, okay, we'll move the boxes. He left. We didn't move them. So a month later, my boss calls me in. He's like, what the hell is this department of they're calling me up with these goddamn fucking boxes? You need to move those fucking like, we don't have room, dude. We don't have room. Where the fuck are we supposed to put the box? I don't give a shit where you find the fuck. Anyway, all kinds of adventure. So I left that job. I told Derek left. Okay, he got a job at Nike. So again, people you know. And there was another guy who I worked with who was a supervisor. He got a job at Nike. Nike started really booming around this, and Nike was headquartered in Beaverton, Oregon. So I get a phone call one day from these two guys like, hey, man, are you willing to quit your job and come to Nike and do IT support over here? We'll add $10,000 on your annual pay. I'm like, done. Let's do it. Like, don't you want to know what you're doing first? Nope, do not give a fuck. I just want, as always, give me the money. Show me the money. I don't care what I'm doing. Is it illegal? No, I don't care. I don't give a fuck. Is it IT related? Yeah, it's IT. Okay, great. That's good enough. So I moved to IT, got another raise. Okay. And I'm still building my business on the side. So this is when I set my goal to have my own business by September of 1996. So this is around 1995, 1994. It was a 2-year goal. So even when I started working at Nike, I knew I'm out of here in a year. I'm quitting this job. I'm going full-time with my computer consulting business. September of 1996. I wanted to start it in 1995 because that's what Windows 95 came out. So there's a lot of hype with computers in 95 with Windows 95 because Windows 95 actually was pretty good. So I was able to do it. I had to wait one more year in 1996. So then I learned in Nike, which was a big bureaucratic company again, but a lot of young people and a lot of very charismatic people at Nike. I learned money comes from people who are people, who have high interpersonal skills, people skills. Now, I hated people skills. I was an introvert, an INTJ, guy in his 20s, little reactive, little shit. Okay, I didn't want to learn people skills, but all these experiences taught me, the people who make the most amount of money generally are the people who know how to work with people and interact with people, and some people who like people who people like. So I joined Amway. Those know what Amway is? Now, I didn't join Amway to sell soap and shit. I joined Amway to learn how to interact with other people. Because in Amway, back then anyway, I don't know how it works now, but back then, they'd have you buy all these business books. And I was devouring business books, taking notes and stuff, including interpersonal books. So that's when I read How to Win Friends and Influence People, Confidence and Power in Dealing with People, Magic of Thinking Big, these books that taught you how to interact with other people. And I started practicing with my clients at night and on weekends and my job at Nike, how to be a nice guy and how to smile and say people's name and ask questions and be interested in people and all this shit that introverts have to learn. Extroverts already know this stuff. My son, Josh, knew this stuff when he was 5 years old as a natural part of his personality. Very charismatic, high people skills. My son, by the time he was 5 or 6, I had to learn this shit. It wasn't until I was maybe 30 before I had it all figured out. And some of you have natural people skills. Awesome. Some of you suck ass at people skills. You make money a lot easier and faster when you have people skills. Even if, and I've done podcasts on this, even if you have to pretend to give a shit or pretend to be sad, like, that sounds horrible. Oh, going on lots of first dates helped me with that, but that was later in life. That didn't happen in my 20s. That happened in my 30s. So anyway, I was working on that. I realized being a little shit, being a little turd, being, acting like I'm smarter than everyone else, and being angry and reactive my whole life, like many of you in your 20s, was not going to serve me and not make me money. And I wanted to make fucking money. I've neglected to talk about this. The goal that I set in high school, the big goal of my whole life, was to make $100,000. I set this when I was 18 years old, was to make $100,000 a year. This is back in the 90s now, and that was a lot of money. Today, it doesn't mean shit. $100,000 is piss today. But back in the 90s, that was a lot of money, okay? $100,000 in 10 years. It was a 10-year goal, so by age 28, make $100,000. And I thought about this goal. I had this goal on my bathroom wall. I would print out a thing. I make $100,000 a year. Here's how I'm going to do it. And I'd read it every morning. I'd have friends come over to my house, and they say, what the hell is that thing on your bathroom wall? I'm making $100,000? I'm like, yeah, whatever. Fuck you. So that was my thing. Okay. So anyway, where was I? I'm working at Nike. I do a budget of how much money I need to make in my own business to have a full-time business. Okay, this is not location independent by this is location dependent. I didn't know that stuff back then. All right. But I knew I had to get the fuck out of here and be a business owner because that's the only way I could really scale my income. Because even at Nike, I was stuck with salaried income. How do you double your income if you work for a company? You can't. You can maybe get another job in another department, make 10% more. How do you double it? You can't. Can you double your income when you have real business? Yes, I've done it several times throughout my career. Yeah, it's no problem. And I knew this back then. I want to control my own income. So, let's see. Lost my train. I look at the comments, I lose my train of thought. Okay, so I do a business. I do a budget how much money I need to make. So I take out a loan or two. I borrow some money on my car. I had equity in my car, my 1985 Nissan Z. So I borrow like $4,000 just to have cash in the bank when I start my own business in case I can't pay my bills, which would happen. So finally, I set the date on the calendar. I will quit in September of 1996. And I will start my business October 1st, 1996. And this is a plan I had the entire year. I was at Nike. So things happen at Nike and I wouldn't even care. You know, usual corporate shit. My team would work on a project and some other department in, some distant state would fuck it all up and we have to start all over again. And everyone on the team would be fucking furious and mad. I'm like, whatever. I'm out of here in a year. I'm out of here in 8 months. I'm out of here in 5 months. I'm out of here in 4 months. I didn't give a fuck because I knew it was out there. I had short timer syndrome. It was great. So, and I've mentioned this before, the day finally came. I gave notice. I gave my 2 weeks notice. I was very nice. The people I worked with at Nike, by the way, were very nice people, really cool people. I mean, just really cool for a company. I don't know how it is now, but back then Nike was really cool. It's a cool company. They sent us on, sales training trips, not sales training for me, but I was the IT support for that's what I was. IT support for the sales department. That's something else I learned very quickly, both at Central Point Software and at Nike. I learned very quickly the people in the company who make the most money are people in sales. Everyone else gets treated like shit because that was me. So people in the IT department got treated like shit. At Central Point Software, at First Interstate Bank, at Nike, at any job, you're an IT nerd, you get treated like shit. If you're an admin person, treated like shit. If you're in HR, treated like shit. If you're in operations, you're on the warehouse, treated like shit. If you're in sales, the entire company kisses your ass. The CEO kisses your ass. Your bosses kiss your ass. We had a guy at Central Point Software accidentally sent a virus to the entire company worldwide, like 500 people. He didn't get fired. Why? He was in sales. Then he sent it again saying, oh shit, I sent you a virus. It's in this file. Sorry, everybody, don't click it. He sent it again. What the fuck? But he was in sales, so everyone kissed his ass. So I learned this really quick. Okay, sales is where the money is, not being a fucking IT nerd, even though that's what I was. Because I would see these salespeople working less hours than me, having a great fucking time, taking these long lunches, and they're making quadruple what I'm making. And they're getting all these benefits and free trips and bonuses, and all the vice presidents are kissing their asses. Whereas IT, they're trying to figure out how we lay off more IT people. That costs us money. Fuck this. Whole different things. I'm like, aha, okay. Another data point for building my business. So I give notice September of 1996. Give notice. I give a 2-week notice. I was going to quit, take 1 week off, my last vacation, take a week off and just chill out, and then start my business October 1st. So, and I've mentioned this before, I remember that last day in September of 1996, Nike corporate headquarters in Beaverton, Oregon. I had a cubicle, and I remember cleaning up my cubicle, and I remember thinking, this is the last time I will have to sit at a cubicle for the rest of my life. This is the last time I will have a boss, and I forget her name. She's a very nice lady. I said goodbye to her. I said, this is the last time, this is the last day I will ever have a boss for the rest of my life. This is the last day I will have a job for the rest of my life. And I walked down the aisle. And I said, this is the last time I walk down this fucking aisle ever again. And I get in the elevator and I press the button. I said, this is the last day. This is the last time I press these fucking buttons ever again. And I walk out of the elevator in this beautiful foyer. I said, this beautiful foyer is golden handcuffs. This is a beautiful prison to make me forget that when you have a job, you're in fucking jail. You're in prison, and I will never be in this prison ever again. This is the day I get released from prison, and I will never come back to this prison ever again. And I was right, never did. When I walk out of the parking lot, this is the last time I walk out of this fucking parking lot. This is the last time I walk out of the parking lot as an employee. This is the last time I am a slave. It was one of the happiest days of my life. God damn. And I was right. Haven't a job since then. That was, 30 years ago? Almost 30? Yep. So I start my computer consulting business, and I start servicing my existing clients, and I didn't have enough money to pay all of my bills because I rented an office. I've talked about this in my books. I was stupid. I thought I needed an office, so I rented an office. I bought an expensive laptop and borrowed the money to do it. You don't need a laptop in 1996. You do today, but not in 96. So stupid. Mismanaged my money, didn't know what the fuck I was doing, but I serviced clients, ratcheted up my people skills, asked for referrals, and for a long time, it was really hard. I suffered. I couldn't pay my bills. I was behind on my taxes again. There were times I couldn't pay my rent. It was bad. But I knew if I just get X more clients, that exact formula for how many more clients I need, if I just get a few more clients, I'll be okay. And I don't remember how long it took me, but it took me a while to get to the point where finally I would plug it in my little spreadsheet and I'd figure, oh my God, I now have enough money to pay my bills. I'm self-employed. I can set my own schedule, and I now have enough money to pay my bills. It was still less than what I was making at Nike, but I was self-employed and set my own schedule. I liked what I was doing instead of feeling like a fucking slave at Nike. A little more time goes by. I start doing marketing and sales. I start doing things like direct mail. I buy a bunch of Dan Kennedy stuff back to the 90s. I do a bunch of direct mail. I start implementing systems for how to get referrals. I focus on sales, because computer skills do not make you money. Sales makes you money. Marketing makes you money. Business skills make you money. Not being a computer dork. Unless you want to have a job the rest of your life and do whatever you want, but I didn't. I knew this. I started putting ads on the radio, which was a lot of money. I had to spend like $2,000 one time on an ad. I was so scared. But I got one client from that $2,000 ad. I got 3 clients, 2 little ones, and 1 big plumbing company from the radio ads. That plumbing company paid me $3,000 to $5,000 a month for the next 6 years. How much money is that from one $2,000 ad? And I went, oh my God, advertising works. Running ads works. The ROI is incredible. And soon I made the same amount of money I made at Nike. Then I started making more money I made at Nike, which was my highest paid job until then. More money I made with Ted. More and more. And I started working and working and working and working. In the middle of that, I was a stupid, young, dumbass beta male. I got married, which was stupid. I immediately had a kid, which was stupid. Fucked up my personal life horribly because that's what guys in their 20s do. Anyway, so that was more financial burden, which I should not have done. But despite all that, finally, after about 3 years or so, and I talk about this in my books, I was in a new office. By now, I had a team. I had a receptionist, office manager chick. I had my brother working for me. I had another guy working for me. Okay. I run the report of how much money I personally made, not the company, that Caleb made in the past 12 months, because my goal was 6 figures, right? And the number came out, it was like $103,000 and $240. Personal Caleb income past 12 months. And I was only 27. And this is in 1990s dollars. $100,000 in 90 was a lot of money. You could live very well on that. And I went, holy shit, I did it. Not only did I do it, I did it an entire year ahead of schedule. Holy shit. Holy shit. And it was at night. I was alone in the office because I worked all night. Okay. And I danced around the room like a big dork. I danced. I jumped up and started jumping up and down. That was the big goal for my whole 20s. And I not only hit it, I had hit it a year in advance. I was only 27, not 28. I still remember how happy I was. That was awesome. So I went on to mismanage my money. So often when you're young and you make a lot of money very quickly, you make all this money, but you don't know how to manage it. I fucked up my taxes really bad. I was in hock to the IRS for a shitload of money. I went into super debt. I would do things like go into an office. Hey, Caleb, we need 35 new workstations. And I would say, great, I'll sell them to you. So write me a big check of the workstations plus my work. So let's say they wrote me a big check for the workstations. Big check. What I would do is I had a line of credit. I would put all the workstations on a line of credit from Dell, order them, set them all up. The big check for the amount of money they paid me for the computers, I would just spend. I go, wow, $40,000 I can spend on my business, or I can, get a new house. And cool. And I would go into debt, more debt, more debt, more. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. My bookkeeping skills were okay. I was a moron. I fucked up all my finances, even though by now I was living in a big house, in a nice neighborhood, married, 2 kids. One of the kids goes to private school. Wife drives a nice car. I'm driving a nice car, right? And I'm stressed to fuck every month. I'm making a 6-figure income in my 20s, and I'm stressed out. I'm pissed off. I've written about this. The Unchained Man did not like my life. I started working more hours. I started working 70 hours a week, 80 hours a week, and I stopped liking what I'm doing. I had no mission. I had no direction. I had hit my goal, so I didn't know, well, now what do I do? Because I had no mission beyond the goal. I teach mission, then goals. You don't have just goals. What happens if you hit your goal? And you're fucked. So, do we have time to go? I'm trying to summarize this. I reoriented my entire life, including my personal life. Personal life, I've talked about in another channel. My business life, I said, okay, this isn't working. I need to be mobile and location independent. So I laid off all my employees, but I did it nicely. I told each one of them, look, I'm going to lay you off, but not yet. Go find another job. So you don't have another job, I'm going to lay you off. And I'll send you all the recommendations letters. I'll give you a referral, no problem. Okay. And I did that. One of the people was my brother. My brother's a good guy. So now I have no employees. I shut down the office and I started working out of my home. I took one of the bedrooms of my house. I lived in a big house back then. One of the kids' bedrooms, moved them around, and I had an office in my house and redid all my vendors. What else I do? I raised my prices. Okay. Next thing I did, and some of my clients said, this is bullshit. Great, bye. But most of them said, okay. So now I make more money. I convert from charging by the hour, which is stupid when you're a consultant. You charge by the project or you charge on retainer. This is stuff I learned from Alan Weiss, another one of my mentors. You can Google him. Did that. Then over a course of a year, I fired a bunch of my irritating clients, fired a bunch and just kept my top good clients, went from 45 clients to like 5, 6, 7 big clients. All this transformed my life. I almost doubled my income and I reduced my work hours. I started taking weekends off. Then I started taking Fridays off. So I was making hardcore good 6 figures in 1990s dollars. And this is now in the year 2000 now. So we're getting the 2000s now. Working 4 days a week. Not bad. Pretty good. Bunch of other changes I don't have time to go into detail here about. In my personal life, I get divorced because I should have never gotten married in the first place. I was stupid. It was all my fault. Got divorced, changed my life around again, blah, blah, blah. Sat down. I've written this, The Unchained Man. I sat down one day with my laptop and I wrote out a mission for the rest of my life. Not goals, a mission. Why do I work? Why do I exist? What is my meaning? What is the meaning behind my work? What do I want? Why do I want it? Not just because young guys say, I want a Ferrari. Why? What's the meaning behind that? Because Andrew Tate has one. That's not enough. It's enough when you're 22. When you get in your, because now I'm in my 30s. 30s, 40s, you need more meaning. So I write all this out. Changed my entire life around. My entire business. So now I start doing, instead of computer consulting, I do a little bit of that. I start doing public speaking. I joined the National Speakers Association. I joined Toastmasters. And I improved my public speaking skills because it helps with sales. I also move my computer consulting into strategic planning consulting, or business consulting, and time management consulting. Why? I can charge more money. People don't care about technical shit. When you're a technical person, you're a commodity. 10,000 people do technical stuff. So if you're a technical person, you charge a fee, they're going to look at 10,000 other people, look at their fees. If you're not the lowest, they're going to say, fuck you. Whereas if I was a business consultant, a management consultant, strategic planning consultant, time management consultant, a little more niched, a little more, okay, I can make you real money. Instead of just, I'll set up your server. How about I come into your office, show you your processes, improve your processes by 22%. You make $6 million more this year. Your company does. Different. So I kind of expand the consulting that I'm doing. Okay. Then I'm making money on the internet. I start selling. What did I do? Let's see. The first money I made on the internet way back in like 1999, 2000 is I had a contact at InFocus projectors, and I could get refurbished InFocus projectors really cheap, like below wholesale. So I couldn't get as many as I want, but I get a lot. I would get these things and I sell them on eBay for retail, sometimes making $800, $900 a profit per sale after cost of shipping and everything. It was awesome. So I started going, okay, there's money in this internet thing. This is good. We need to keep doing this. I wrote my first ebook called The Six-Figure Computer Consultant, because that's what I was. And I sold that on the internet. Didn't sell it very well. Didn't know what I was doing, but I did sell some. And this blew me away because once the ebook was sold, I'm like, this is 100%. I sold it for like, what did I sell that book for? I don't remember. I want to say $50 for that book. Maybe it was 20. I don't remember. But I remember thinking, this is 100% profit. And I would wake up in the morning and not check my phone. I would do that today. Didn't have phones. Check my email, and I would make sales. A guy would buy my book at night while I was asleep. I'm like, oh, okay, this is good. Selling information works. I'm very bad at it. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but it works. So that sparks more ideas. I start reading blogs, and I like blogs. This is back in the blogosphere, like, 2004, 2005. Vox Day was my favorite blog back then. My second favorite blog was Scott Adams before he lost his mind with Donald Trump. I like that blog. Read some political blogs, read business blogs. Like, this blogging thing is awesome. Read a guy's blog, I think he's still around, called Steve Pavlina. I think he's still around. And he starts writing about having a blog and monetizing a blog. And I remember going to a bookstore at one point back then, and it's Steve Pavlina wrote a book, and it's in Barnes and Noble. I'm like, wow, a blogger made a book in a bookstore? You can get famous for this blogging thing? He's probably making some good money. So I read the article at the back, and it says Steve Pavlina. I forget what the number was. I want to say 50,000 views. Steve Pavlina is a successful blogger who gets 50,000 views a month at his blog. Whatever the number was, maybe it was 20,000, I forget. But I remember saying, wow, he gets 50,000 views a month at his blog? Man, if I had a blog that made 50,000 views, man, I'd be a gazillionaire. I'd be set for life. Oh my fucking God, I have a boner. So that had a new idea. I want to blog. Okay. I'm still expanding my consulting and do this stuff like that. I'm starting to convert to location independent consulting, where I do consulting remotely, even if there's physical things included, or they would ship me stuff and I work on it, send it back, or I'd have other people do it. So I start getting a taste of location independence a little bit. This is more for my other channel. I start getting a very prolific dating life. I start dating a lot of women. This is now getting into the late 2000s. And I join a bunch of pickup artist forums and things like this. And I start reading advice, and I start contributing. And then over time, my name was Black Dragon back then, because back in those days, you had to give yourself a cool anonymous PUA name. So that was my name. Why'd you pick Black Dragon? Because I'm a nerd. I used to play Dungeons and Dragons. My favorite dragon was the Black Dragon. So I picked Black Dragon. Had I known it would become this big name, I would have chosen a different name, but I didn't know that back then. And my posts on these forums get popular. And on the forum I was the biggest pickup artist forum at the time. The one where Neil Strauss, Mystery, Style, those guys were on those same big forum. It showed a ranking of the highest ranked posts from people who contributed to the forum. And out of 40,000 people on the forum, I was number 8. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. People like my writing. People like my advice. Okay. Then it goes number 5. Then it goes number 4. I eventually got to number 2. Never got to number 1. But I got to number 2. The guy number 1 was a guy called 60 Years of Challenge. Those of you remember, those of you in the pickup artist world way back then. I said, okay, there's a demand for this information. I want to blog. I want to write books. Let's do it. So I started another business. I'm already making tons of money as a consultant now. I started my first real online business. dating and relationship advice for men. But I couldn't talk about how to be a pickup artist because that's a guy who wears, back then, feather boas and goggles, and you go to the clubs and you hang out till 4 a.m. and you have sex with drunk girls. I'm in my mid 30s by then. Okay. I'm a father of 2. And I'm an introvert. I'm not going to do that. So what I was doing was online dating, which was a niche back in those days. Today, everyone online dates. But back in 2007, 8, 9, online dating was this weird new thing. Like, what? You could go on the internet and get dates from girls. What the hell? Does that really work? And I was making it work because I worked very hard at it. So I wrote 3 books. I wrote ebooks, little ebooks, how to do online dating. This is 2009. I still have copies of these books somewhere in my archives. How to do a first and second date. And then had those 2. And I had a little coaching service. First date from online dating. And then the other thing I was doing was I was dating multiple women all at the same time without lying to anyone about cheating. So no one else had picked, not no one, very few people in the pickup artist world would discuss that topic, another niche. So I wrote a 3rd book on how to date 2 or 3 or 4 girls all at the same time without lying or cheating and without having them screaming yell at you. Okay. That was the start of that business. That was 2009. Made very little money. But I had enough people from the forums go out to my blogs and find me, and I started running blog articles. I wrote 3 blog articles per week back then. 3 per week, 3 per week, 3 per week, nonstop for years. I did not take a break, ever, never. Most bloggers back then and today go out of business. Why? Because they write a bunch of blog articles. Within a few weeks, they go, I'm not making $1 million. And then they stop. I was there to play the long game. And I said in 2009, when I started that business, hey guys, I'm not going to just vanish off the face of the earth because I get a monogamous girlfriend like most of these pickup artists do. I'm going to be here writing about this stuff for 15 years. That is my promise to you. And I kept that promise. It is now 15 years later. I still talk about dating relationship advice all the time. I have an entire channel called Alpha Male 2.0. So I mean what I say. So anyway, that got around. People started reading my stuff. I'm writing 3 articles a week, every week, even when no one was reading the blog. When I had like 23 views, I'm still writing 3 articles a week, 3 articles a week, 3 articles a week. End of story, no matter what. Finally, after, I don't remember how long, year and a half, I start making a few $100s a month. I go, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm making a few $100s a month. And this is just extra income for me. I'm already making 6 figures as a consultant. So this is extra income for me. But that's kind of cool, making it from the internet, which is such a cool, weird new thing. I'm getting money from the internet. This is so weird. Oh my gosh. So I read another book. What was that book? I read another book. Oh, on older men dating much younger women, because I was doing some of that back then. And that was, again, a topic no one else to talk about. So I stayed niched. Eventually, I remember I got to $800 a month, and that paid for the house that I was living in. It paid for, what did it pay for? All my utilities plus something else. I'm like, this little internet business is paying for all my utilities plus something else. Then I remember it got to paying the rent for the house I was living in. $1,500 a month back then or something, whatever it was. I'm like, this little internet business is paying my rent. Okay, and that's when it clicked. If this is paying my rent, I can do 6 figures doing this. So I can do 6 figures as a consumer consultant and 6 figures with my online stuff and make $1 bazillion. So that's why I really started hitting it hard with the online business. So the evolution of the online business is started selling ebooks first. Then I started selling personal coaching. I charged a lot. I didn't say $50 an hour. I would say, you got to pay me $1,000 flat fee or $1,500 and I'll give you X number of sessions. Let's see. Did that for years. And eventually I started making $100,000 from my blog, on what was called back then the Black Dragon blog, $100,000 in ebook sales and coaching. It worked. Then I made a pivot to Alpha Male 2.0, which is a more comprehensive lifestyle design system for men, where I took all my business stuff and all my dating stuff and combined it into a more comprehensive lifestyle. I called it Alpha Male 2.0. This is 2014, and I took a risk. I said, okay, this may or may not work, because a lot of the guys, the dating world, pickup artist world, got really mad if you started selling ebooks. They'd call you a liar and a scammer and a snake oil salesman, even though they loved you right before you started selling your ebooks. But as soon as you started making money, they called you a liar and a scammer and a snake oil salesman because they were anti-capitalist. Okay. And a lot of people in the business world do not want to hear about banging girls. They're like, well, that's just super inappropriate. I'm married. I have 2 kids. Why are you talking about this? So I'm combining these 2 audiences. And I said, this may not work. This could blow up my face. So I felt strongly about this. I spent 2.5 years writing the biggest and most important book of my entire life, The Unchained Man. 2.5 years, the longest I've ever taken to write a book. I can write a book in 3 or 4 months because I'm good at writing. 2.5 years. I poured my blood and my soul into this book. Came out in 2014. The experiment worked and it took off. So I started adding business courses onto the ebooks and dating stuff under the banner of Alpha Male 2.0, because half of Alpha Male 2.0 is dating and relationships for men. The other half is location independent, having your own business, not being a slave to a job. And later we added location independence, but not yet. When I started selling courses, I don't want to give you specific numbers. My income skyrocketed again beyond any income goal I had ever had up until that point. I had big income goals. So I'll give you this number. My big income goal back then was $20,000 a month income. I said, man, if I make $20,000 a month, oh my fucking God, I will be a gazillionaire. I could buy anything. Oh my God. Oh my God. Holy shit. I make way more than that now. But that time when I started selling courses, Alpha 2.0 business course, location independent 6-figure consultant course, a bunch of them, okay, a whole slew of courses. I way exceeded 20,000 a month, way past that. I'm like, okay, we're good. This is good. We're happy. Then the pandemic hit. And even before the pandemic, there were lots of, because of the Trump era in 2016, I saw a lot more people get pissed off about the collapse. I knew in 2012, go back in my blogs, I said it in 2012, America's collapsing. And in 2012, everyone said, no, it's not. What are you talking about? Everything's great. So I called this way early. So anyway, I polled my audience in Alpha Male 2.0 and I said, some of you were around for this. I made some videos and some blog posts. I said, answer these 5 questions. And there were send me an email, answer these 5 questions, and I will personally read every email I get. And questions like, what are you most concerned about? Number 1. Number 2, what is the thing you want the most? Number 3, what's the biggest problem in your life? Number 4, what is your biggest strengths? What are your biggest weaknesses? I polled my audience to see what they wanted to buy. And this is what I was very good at. This is another skill I learned when I wrote the older man, younger woman ebook. The only reason I wrote that book is a whole bunch of people in my audience said, hey, you mentioned that you're 38, you're dating an 18-year-old. So I want to do that. Can you teach me how to do that? I got a whole bunch of guys ask me this. Guys in 30s and 40s and 50s want to date much younger women. I said, aha, money opportunity. So I wrote the book. I made a lot of money selling that book because I listened to what the customer base wanted and I gave it to them. Instead of what most business owners do is they say, I want to do this. And they try to shove it down people's throats and no one buys. They wonder why. I do the opposite. I'm very good at this. And if you've watched me and you pay attention, you'll see me do this. Ask questions, pay attention to comments, pay attention to emails, pay attention to customer comments, complaints about what they want and what they don't. And I will give them what they want. So I learned this. So around 2019, 2020, I said, I'm going to find out what my customers really want. And I asked them all these questions. And hundreds of you wrote in. I got hundreds of emails. And took me several days, and I read every single email. And I tallied it with a spreadsheet. So when I said, what is your biggest concern? And if you said, biggest concern is taking care of my kids, I would write taking care of kids, 1. And the next email would say, biggest concern is, I think we're going to be in hyperinflation at some point next year. Okay, hyperinflation. Biggest concern is, I think America's collapsing. Okay, collapsing. And then the next one would say, I think America's collapsing. Okay, America's collapsing, 2. And I kept toggling and tallying every concern and every answer from all these hundreds of emails. And when I was all done, I realized, to my surprise, I did not know this. You guys educated me back then. This is 5 years ago now. Your biggest concern was, my country is in really big trouble and I don't know what to do. That was the number 1 concern. There were other concerns that were common, but that was the number 1. And I was already teaching, to a degree, location independence and self-employment. And I was already working on getting the fuck out of the collapsing United States. I was writing about my blog since 2012. I was waiting for my kids to be a certain age. My plan back then, those of you know this, My plan was to leave the United States in 2025. That was my plan since 2011, mostly because I wanted my kids to grow up. And they did. And I upped that timetable to 2021 when the pandemic and all the riots hit. I said, okay, I'm done. I'm done. I can't do this. So we started what was called back then Sovereign CEO. Now it's called Unchained CEO, a new brand, kind of under Alpha Male 2.0, only about business and 5 flags, international lifestyle. And then a bunch of people on my team, Billy included, my son Josh included, a bunch of other people said, Caleb, you'll make more money if you split the brands out. Because the people who want to hear dating and business, they'll do both. But the millions who want one or the other, they could just be involved in one and not dick with the other. And then we can run ads just for one and do content just for one and grow them separately, even though they're kind of related. I said, all right, fine. So we took about a year. We split out the brands. Alpha Male 2.0 is now separate from Unchained CEO. That worked. Made even more money. Broke 7 figures. Converted slowly from video courses, which are still there, to things like the focus coaching programs. So I'm constantly evolving my business as time goes on. So instead of selling a course with a bunch of videos, I'm selling coaching programs like back then the Focus program, the 6-Figure Warrior Mentorship program, today 90-Day Business Builder, a bunch of other ones, the SMIC program, the Founder Sanctum, which now is Billy's in charge of. These coaching programs, in addition to ebooks and courses and some coaching. I stopped coaching for a while. I started again. I go back and forth on it because it takes a lot of my time. Started consulting less. I started making so much money doing this. I start consulting less. Still do some stuff. I had a third, I neglected to talk about this. I had a third company called CCM where I was a former computer consultant, IT consultant now. I would go to IT companies and I would say, do you want more business? Want more clients? Some of them would say no. Most said yes. I said, great. I'm going to come into your business. I'm going to take all your dead accounts, okay, your dead customers, people you've worked with for at least 2 years. I'm going to market to them as if I'm you. I'm going to hire telemarketers to call them, and I'm going to pay for the telemarketers. I'm going to send snail mail, paper mail to them using your letterhead, pretending I'm you. I'm going to pay for all the fees, all the postage, everything. You do nothing, you spend nothing. If you get any new clients, you pay me 50% of the gross for 2 years. Now, this was negotiable. Sometimes I negotiate down to 1 year. Sometimes it was like 40% of the gross. That was my starting position. Some people said, okay. Other people negotiate a little bit. So what I would do is when I would get a client for that, this is a third company now. I would get a client for that. We had a system in place where we'd start sending emails, and I'd have a telemarketer call these people. We would sign them up business from old accounts. And then, so it was a lot of money out of my pocket the first 6 weeks. But after that, I would get a check in the mail from any one of these clients for 2 years straight without doing any work. It was awesome. The only reason I stopped doing it was the pandemic, because now consulting, IT consulting is much more remote. And I was dealing with people who were doing this on site. So I said, fuck it, let's close it down. Because I was making so much money from Alpha Male 2.0, Sovereign CEO, and my consulting I said, I don't need this anymore. 3 years ago, started another company that I cannot talk about publicly. It's in the healthcare sector. That's all I can talk about. If you've been to my in real life events, I've talked about this. Can't talk about that. That's a much more complex thing. So I'm doing that too. And that all leads up to today. And that's where I am today. Future plans. I am going to be working very, very hard in my empire building phase. Those of you who watch Alpha Male 2.0, I talk about the 3 phases of life. I'm in the tail end of phase 2, empire building phase. I'm going to be working very hard in my empire building phase until April of 2026. I have very specific financial benchmarks I need to hit by 2026. It's not just I make X per year. A little more complicated than that. Actually, a lot more complicated. I have net worth objectives, portfolio objectives, a lot of things. It's a whole set of numbers. I have not hit those numbers yet. I'm getting really close. And I have like 1 year and 7 months left. This is before I turn 54. When I hit that point, I'm going to shift into the next phase of my life where I'm working just to express myself in the marketplace, just for my own enjoyment and to give back and things like that. Yes, I will still charge money. Yeah, I'm not going to be free, but I'm no longer going to work for money. Right now, I work for money. Give me the money. Give me the money. I'm still in that mode that I was in my early 20s. Give me the fucking money. The Western world's collapsing right before our eyes. AI is coming around the corner. You need a lot of money. That's the book I'm writing now. You don't have a lot of time. Give me the money. Give me the money, money, money. Once I have the money, my version of what is wealthy, everyone has a different definition for that word. Then I'm going to cut back on my work hours, work kind of when I feel like it, spend more time with family and traveling and writing fantasy fiction, things that don't make any money because I will not need to work for money anymore. I'll still work, I'll still make money, but that won't be my objective. So that's where I am right now. So that's why I'm working very hard right now. Will I make this goal by April 2026? I don't know. I hope. And as I mentioned in a prior live stream a week or two ago, for the first time ever in my life, I can now see the goal. I can see it off in the distance. It's not close. It's off, but I can see it now. I can see exactly how I get from here to there. Whereas before I'm like, how do I hit these numbers? I mean, how the fuck do I do that? I don't have that problem anymore. I now see exactly how I'm going to get there. Exactly. I know exactly how to do it. Very excited. That's it. That's my story. Okay. To answer questions. A lot of you are asking really good questions. So bottom line is, as I'm scrolling these questions, I started with no money. Let me review this really quick. Let me summarize. I started when I was 18 years old with no money, no contacts, no people skills, no high school diploma, no college degree, asshole, negative personality who no one liked. Today I make 7 figures. I give you more numbers, but I can't. I don't talk about my finances in public. I don't talk about it. I do very well. I was doing, I was doing 6 figures in 1990s dollars within 7 years of that condition. Within 7 years, making $100,000 a year in 1999 dollars, whatever that was. That's a lot of money. You know, let's do a conversion really quick. I'm super curious. Let's do an inflation calculator. So this was 1998-ish, I think. I was born in 1972, so do the math. So let's say 1998, $100,000. What was that worth today? Okay, yeah, that's like $193,000 a day, which is not great, but it's not bad. So anyway, all you guys say, but I don't have any money. Oh, here's another thing I had. No marketable skills. I didn't have any marketable skills when I was 18. Yeah, Caleb, you knew computers. I didn't know shit. I knew gaming computers like Commodore 64. No one's going to hire you back in 1991 for Commodore 64. You had to learn IBM PC DOS, which I had no idea how to do. I failed the test 3 times, two times. And within just a few years, I was making more money. Within just a few years of me being 18, I was making more money than the teachers in high school who told me I would never amount to anything because I was getting an F in the class. Making more money than my mom was making. She was a full-time teacher. Making more money than her. She said I was going to be a bum. How you like me now, Mom? That was many years ago. Now I don't care. All right. Your questions. Actually, you know what? Let me cover 90-Day Biz Builder really, really quick because today's the last day to sign up for that, and I'll get to your questions. I almost forgot that. Hang on a second. Today is the last day you can schedule a call, which must occur by tonight, for the 90-Day Business Builder, where we work with you. I'm not going to show you some of the slides. I'm just going to summarize this really quick. Yeah, let me show you this slide really fast. Hang on. Slideshow. Add to stage. Where we work with you for 90 days, 90-Day Business Builder, but actually we get an extra month if you sign up now. You have literally to the end of the day today. We work with you for 90 days. We walk you through the process of getting from zero, no idea what to do, to getting a business that actually makes real money, thousands of dollars within 90 days, location independent. We guarantee it, or we will work with you forever until you do. I have uploaded to both my YouTube channels several case studies of people who've been through the Business Builder program who are making thousands of dollars, in some cases $30,000, $50,000 within just a few months of starting the program. And I've got more coming. This shit works. If you sign up now, and I mean literally now, you got to go to this website, 90daybizbuilder.com, schedule your call for today. We have openings still today, okay? Get your call done today. Sign up by the end of the day, midnight EST today. This is September 30th. I will add an entire month for free. So it's a 120-day business builder instead of 90. Plus, it extends the guarantee an extra month. Plus, I'm going to throw in a group coaching session for those people who sign up now with me. That is not part of the program. There's a lot of live coaching sessions throughout the program, but I don't do Q&A sessions for coaching in 90-day business builder. I'm too expensive. I'm going to throw that in for free. I'm going to throw in another session with another business builder coach. We've got about 8 coaches. Group coaching session for free. And if you want to start business builder, but you don't want to start it right this second, right now, you can sign up now, get the free extra month, get the coaching from me, and start later at any time in the next 12 months. You can start November, December, you can start next year. Fine. If you want this deal. If you want to miss this deal. Because if you miss this, this is the last day you can get this. Cool, cool. I'm also doing, let me go through this really fast. Those of you who sign up for my immersion program, you can still sign up for that, where you follow me around on a live stream 12 hours a day for 4 days, following everything I do, my entire work life, personal life, everything in November. If you sign up for that, you get $1,000 off Business Builder. So you can take the $1,000 off right now. You can also sign up for the immersion program now, take your $1,000 off right now, even though you can start Business Builder later. You can combine these in any way you want. I'm very flexible about this. That's at www.caleb.top/shadow for that program if you want to get the $1,000 off. Otherwise, 90daybizbuilder.com. Deadline is today. It says Monday on the slide. It's actually today, this Monday. Deadline now. Cool? Cool. All right. All right. Now let me get to your question. Sorry about that. Let's see. I am really dry throat today. Hang on. How do you stop falling back into bad habits? I'm very good at this, except for my physical life. I fall back into bad eating habits all the time, although I'm much better at it than I am now. So I am not perfect at this. A few things. Daily planning. Every night, sit down and plan your day. The next day. Sam Ovens used to talk about plan tomorrow, today. So that helps a lot. Plan your week. That helps a lot. Ask yourself why you don't want these habits. What is your motivation? You should have negative motivation and positive motivation. The reason I want to make a lot of money is A, I have a very strong mission that requires a lot of money. I have a lifestyle that requires money. More on this on my other channel in a few weeks. Okay. And B, I have irrational fears about me having no money in my old age. So I have negative and positive emotions that drive me forward. What do you think about getting temporary residency in Serbia? You can pay a flat €275 a month tax. I have no problem with Serbia. Serbia's fine. I'm good on Serbia. Sure. Is it possible to go from $0 to $200,000 in 3 to 4 years, location dependent business? Absolutely, yes. 3 to 5 years, abso-fucking-lutely, you can go there. Yep. What does it take to get there? Very general, broad question. Here's the default answer. Find a narrow niche. Determine what their problem is. Develop a coaching, consulting, or service thing that helps them solve or alleviate that problem, and then market the fuck out of it. That's how you get there. And you get there well before 3 years. You can go from 0 to 200,000 well before 3 years if you follow our models. No problem. You got to work hard. You can't make excuses. You better work, but you can do it. Just moved to Dubai while running a business. Thanks for your content over the years. Love it here. Cool. I'll be there in a week. I'll be there on Sunday. Can't wait. Awesome. Very cool, dude. I'll be signing up after I finish my 9 to 5 job today. Your business builder? Schedule the call now, unless you already had your call. Schedule your call, 90-day business builder call. Schedule your call now, so the call occurs today. You can't wait till tomorrow. You can't schedule a call for tomorrow. You'll miss the deadline. I want to own an offensive security company, but 90-day business builder is so diehard about solving some niche's problem. Yes, instead of offering your specialized services. You are completely misunderstanding. It's not instead of. You offer specialized services solving a niche's problem. So you're not making any sense. How can I start the company I want? You can join the 90-day business builder, but you're going to have to prove to us, and you may not be able to, that you can find a narrow niche where offensive security is a huge need for that niche and not just something you want to do. If you can't prove that to us, we'll have you set up a different company. If you're like, fuck you, I want to set up this business, then go do whatever you want. You will probably go out of business, like most business owners. Hypothetically, let's say you're building your Alpha 2.0 business, you get laid off, look for another job or go hard getting a client. Depends on how much savings you have and how much money you need to make per month to pay your bills. If you only need $1,000 a month to pay your bills and you've got $6,000 in savings, get a client. If you need $5,000 a month to pay your bills and you've got nothing in savings, you got to get a job. When it comes to Alpha 2.0 deal, you know what? This is driving me crazy. Hang on, I'm going to edit this slide because deadline tonight. 90daybizbuilder.com. There we go. That's better. What the hell? There. How does an Alpha 2.0 deal with setbacks when it comes to setting and achieving goals? How do you adjust when you're behind, when failing to hit a yearly goal? I am behind on most of my goals. I fail to hit the majority of my goals. Not the vast majority, 50, 60%. I fail my goals all the time. What I do is I look at what was my improvement. So if I fail on an annual goal, the end of December, last week of December, I do this every year. How did I do my goals? Oh, I didn't hit it. Okay, but how did I improve? Did I improve? Oh, yeah, you improved a lot. You improved this. Awesome. I'm that much closer to the goal now. Move forward and do it again. And I'll hit the goal next year. Positive attitude about it. So saying, this sucks, I'm such a loser. What's your perspective on self-hypnosis to help you erase negative thoughts such as thoughts of failure and anxiety and toxic shame? If you ever had to reprogram your mind for success, how do you do it? Okay. Though self-hypnosis things work as an additional step, not all by itself. I listen to affirmations every morning of my voice in my phone. I play this audio file and I hear these affirmations about, I'm the kind of man who, I generally do this. I always do this. It's normal for you to do this. But that's not all I'm doing. I'm not going to just rely on self-hypnosis. That's not going to work. Self-hypnosis plus some willpower. It's a combination of those two things. Is consulting the best from zero to the money? In my opinion, yes. Zero to the big money, not zero to the money. Zero to the money is consulting, coaching, or selling a service. Zero to the big money absolutely is consulting. How was I able to make the income of the inflation equivalent of $200,000 a year as a young dumbass in his early 20s in the night? How was I able to do this? Consulting. Could I have done that coaching? Nope. Could I have done that selling a book or a course? Nope. Could I have done that, some location dependent, like being an auto mechanic? Nope. Consulting, baby. How many more years before you see under the Alpha 2.0 model? April 2026 is the last we'll see of you? No, I will still do it, but I will back way off. There will be other Alpha Male 2.0 and Sovereign CEO, Unchained CEO coaches, but I'll be involved. Caleb, what was the business course you went to when you thought you were a god and everyone was earning more? That's a valuable story. You have a good memory. That was Brian Tracy's Focal Point program. It's long gone now. And I paid $7,000. What he's referring to is when I was in my late 20s, I paid $7,000 a year to do this. You flew to Brian Tracy's office in San Diego, California. You had to fly there 4 times a year. And you sat in a room with a bunch of other people. You had to make a 6-figure income or you weren't allowed. You had to prove it. You had to show your tax returns, which I did. And I thought I'm like, I'm 28 years old. I make $100,000 a year because this is 1990s, a lot of money. Yeah, I'm awesome. Yeah. I get in that room and I am the peon in that room. I sit at the table. See if I remember this. You sit these round tables. See the group, the people at my table. So there's me, little Caleb, who thinks he's hot shit because he makes $100,000 a year. There was a guy who was making $3 million a year in the 90s. $3 million a year is good today. He was making $3 million a year in the 90s. Okay. Next to him was the former Attorney General of the state of Arizona. Yeah. Next to him was woman who worked on one of Hillary Clinton's Senate campaigns or something like that. Next to her was a veterinarian who owned 4 veterinary clinics. Next to him, I remember all these people. I see their faces too. I don't remember their names. Next to him was one of the inventors of the fuel cell. He's Mexican, where you have this battery and you pour gasoline into the battery and it makes the battery run instead of pouring gas into your engine. And then me. So I'm walking out there going, I'm a big pussy. I need to step this shit up. Can you go over the 3 phases of building? You mentioned you were in your empire building phase. Yes, you need to go to the Alpha 2.0 channel. I had a whole podcast live stream on that. You should go watch that. Phase 1 is the breakout phase, where you break away from your parents, your boss, and if you have one, your girlfriend. If you're a woman, your boyfriend. You become free. You get away from these authority figures. See, that's the phase 1. Hopefully get that done in your 20s. Most guys don't. Phase 2 is your empire building phase, once you're free to do whatever you want now because you don't have a wife, boss, girlfriend, parents screaming at you, telling you to do all the time because you don't live at home, you have your own business, you're single or close to it. Then you build your empire. You build your infrastructure. That would be your business and your 5 flags, your investments. 3rd phase is self-actualization phase. That's where your empire is built. You're good now. You're healthy. You're romantic and your family life is all great. You got plenty of money. So now you self-actualize. You become the best person you can possibly be. Because you can't really do that when you're building an empire. There's a reason I'm still overweight. I'm working. I'm not focused on getting a 6-pack. Okay. My wife has a 6-pack, but I don't. Did you ever get distracted by a shiny object? What check boxes do new opportunities? Good question. What check boxes do new opportunities need for you to pursue? 2004 blogging, POA stuff, etc. It all sounds like these transitions happen organically. Largely, I had an overall direction. I had an objective for I want to make the money in guaranteed ways. I don't want to just randomly pick the next thing. My rule, and it's always been our rule, is you need to stick with a business idea for 18 months before you try to do the next new thing. The biggest challenge of the modern era, Alex Hormozy has said this, I think Andrew Tate has said this, the biggest problem with you guys in the modern era, you got too many choices, too many options. You got too many things. You got crypto, and you got AI, and you got this, and you got coaching, you got ebooks, you got SaaS, you got all these different fucking things. Oh, you've got, what's the new one now? You can do, I don't remember. You can be an influencer. You can do affiliate. You need to pick one, double down on one, throw your whole heart into it, and say, I'm doing this for at least a year and a half. I'm not going to look at anything else until a year and a half, and I'm not making any money. And when I say work on it for a year and a half, you're marketing for a year and a half. You're not thinking about it for a year and a half. You're not tweaking your blog for a year and a half. You're marketing for a year and a half. Someone who gets coaching on starting a business and they decide to change their mind and they decide to go against that advice tempted by shiny object. Why? Because they didn't do what I just said. I think it's a personality defect. You're constantly looking for the next thing. Every month you're switching, going to here. Number 1. Number 2, it's dopamine problem. At the Alpha Male 2.0 channel, I have a 3-part series on how to solve that problem. Undopamine yourself. Go watch those. Would you still work with someone with 90 Business Builder if their product or service is similar in name, niche as one of your businesses? Similar? Yes. Exactly the same? No. Similar? Sure. I don't care. I don't have competition. I'm not worried about competition in the business world and in my personal life. That's not the way I think these things. I don't worry about competition. If I made a list of everyone who wronged me in my life and found out how much they made, and my goal is to make more than all those people, is this a good motivator or is this too toxic? That's fine. Negative motivation can work. I've talked about this. I don't do this now because my affirmations, every 6 months I change my affirmations a little bit. What I did for many years, and I may go back to doing this, is I would verbally state in my phone a list of people I know of, most of them who I personally know, who are younger than me but make more money than me. Because that pisses me off. If you're in your 70s, make more money. Yeah, of course. You're in your 70s. You got more time. You're younger than me and make more money than me. Fuck you. I hate you. And I don't hate you. I hate me. Similar to on my other channel, you guys can relate to this. You see a guy who's uglier than you, less money or the same money as you, so lower SMV than you, he's dating a super hot girl. The kind of girl you want. You're like, what the fuck? That makes you mad. If you see a gorgeous guy who has billions of dollars date a hot girl, you're like, yeah, okay. But what if you see a guy with the kind of girl you want, you think you can't get, and he's ugly? So use the financial version of that. Sure, it's fine. If you have an LI business but still want to maintain your location-dependent business, why? You're not thinking clearly. Would you still be okay with co-signing that? I don't co-sign things. I think you're being insane and stupid. Here's what I would do. Because I work with people all the time who have that scenario. Here's what I would do. Sit down. Question number one, can I convert my location-dependent business to something location-dependent? Almost always the answer is yes. Rarely is the answer a complete no or partially. You can't. If you don't want to do that or you absolutely can't, you sell it. I can't sell it. Okay, set a goal to sell it within a year or two. Sell it. Cash out. Get out of there. Don't keep it. Why would you keep a location-dependent business? In the United States or Canada? What the hell? Are you crazy? Have you ever been part of a mastermind group where you approached for the business and landed clients? What was the environment dynamic like this? Yeah, I didn't join for that reason, but yes, sure, it's happened. What was the environment dynamic like? Social and friendly. Yeah, that's why you join these expensive masterminds to get clients. I don't. When I join expensive masterminds, so I've done it, I go there to get the data, but I can't get online. I can't get from watching a video on YouTube, because people will tell you shit in real life. They will not tell you on YouTube, right? If you've been to my live in-person seminars this year, the one I did in Paraguay, the one I did in London, the one I did somewhere else I can't talk about, I told you some shit that I'm doing that I don't talk about publicly, didn't I? Yeah. So that's how this works, because we can't say certain things publicly. So yeah, that's why I do it. Your advice for self-sabotage. Ask yourself why you're doing it. Dig into your brain and find out why you're doing it. And I'm not a psychologist. If it's really bad, you may need to talk to a therapist. I'm sorry. But that's where it starts. Why am I doing this? I don't know. Why? Look, I really don't know. You dig in. I had to do this with my societal programming. Talk about this in the Unchained Man. Way back in my early 30s. I had to cut my head open, figuratively, take the top of my skull off, get a shovel and dig into my brain and find out where all these stupid thoughts were coming from. Where is this coming from? Where is that coming from? What the fuck is it? Societal programming. And I had to get rid of them. And it took me a year or two to get rid of them. Longer than a year or two. It was worth it. You got a lot of bullshit in your head from societal programming. Mommy, daddy, school, friends, college. God forbid if you went to college. It's nothing but bullshit societal programming in that. The corporate world, news, the media, modern day movies, modern day TV shows, politics, psycho woke left-wingers, dumbass psycho Trump supporters. It's a constant barrage of bullshit you have to clean out of your head. And once you clean it out, you put a shield over your head so no more gets in. And you'll be happy and successful. Works. That's what I did. Shit. Hang on a second. One of my alarms going off. Are we over time on this live stream? No. Why did the alarm go off? That's really weird. Did I start late? Maybe I started late. All right. That means I got to go in a few minutes. So I'll do a few more questions. I got to go. Hang on. Is the 90-Day Business Builder live Zoom sessions pre-recorded? Pre-recorded? No, they're live. That makes no sense. I ask because I'm wondering if the expectation is for people to do the program to quit their jobs, or do you do the course at your own pace? You do not do 90-Day Business Builder at your own pace. Oh, no. So that's why you don't join till you're ready to work. No. If you want to do something at your own pace, go to store.calebjones.com, get one of my video courses, like the Alpha 2.0 business course. Get one of those. They're cheaper, and you go at your own pace. They're not as good because no one's forcing you to do it, and no one can help you. Those human beings don't help you with those courses. 90-Day Business Builder is all a bunch of people helping you 24/7. So no, you do not go at your own pace. No. That's why I said you can sign up now, start the program later. Start your 90 days timer later. They are recorded in case you miss them, but you have to watch them. And if you don't watch them, we can kick you out of the program. If you sign up for a business builder, not kick you out of the program, excuse me, you violate your guarantee of we'll work with you forever until you do. If you don't, you violate the guarantee if you don't watch the sessions or don't show up the sessions. That's a misstatement. We don't kick you out of the program. We never do that. What is the best book for sales ever? I don't think there is one. My favorite one is The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy. Do you think that the collapse will make its way to second and third world countries or just affect Western countries? The collapse will not. AI will or may. So let me rewind. This is what my book is about. I'm writing now. Western collapse will not affect Paraguay. That's why I'm here. Nope, you're good. AI, if the utopians are correct, and we have this AI communist utopia in 20 years, eventually that'll hit the third world last. But eventually it'll cover the entire world. Eventually. It'll take a long time, though. That may not happen, though. That's just one of many scenarios. So, in other words, you are way better off living outside of the West in a non-Western country from both AI and Western collapse. If you're just sitting your ass in America, Canada, UK, Australia, Germany, and you're just going to say, oh, it'll be fine, you're fucked. Goodbye. Do you think that my service could eliminate 4 payroll salaries for a potential client? Fantastic. How do you structure the value proposition if you don't tie monetary value to time but per project? Alan Weiss. How do you structure a value if you don't monetary value to time but per project? I don't understand your question. You're going to say, I'm going to eliminate these 4 jobs. These 4 jobs cost you X per year. So these 4 jobs together cost you $500,000, whatever, $400,000 a year, $300,000 a year, because you have to add employee burden and taxes onto that, not just the salary. So you hire me, you pay me $50,000. You pay me $50,000. I'll work with you 3 months, eliminate these positions. You now save $400,000. You gave me 50. You're $350,000 ahead this year and $400,000 ahead for the rest of your life. Is that a good deal? I think so. That's Alan Weiss. Any new advice for international backup plan while having 50-50 shared custody with young children? I've discussed this before. You're fucked. You can't be there long. You don't want to abandon your kids, I assume, right? Right. So what you do is you do something like I'm doing in Paraguay, where you're spending a few months a year there, but not half the year, if you have small children. 50-50 shared custody. Now, that's small children. If they're teenagers, do whatever you want. If they're 16, 17, 18, you can kind of do what you want at that point. But if they're little kids, you probably want to abandon your kids. I've written articles about this on my blogs. Probably not a good idea. But you could be away 3 months a year, couldn't you? Right? Maybe 4 months a year? Like 2 months early in the year, then 2 months later in the year? That'd work. But you can't leave. Right. Do you think there's a slight chance Western collapse triggers into a full civilizational collapse, or is that very low? There's a slight chance for everything in the universe. There's a slight chance for aliens to invade the planet Earth tomorrow. There is a slight chance that could happen. 2% rule, 2% rule, 2% rule. Go on my YouTube channel and search for 2% rule and watch those videos. I talk about my books too. 2% rule, less than 2%. You don't worry about it. Proceed. I'm a tradesman in flooring installations. I've done it since finishing high school. Would the 9-Day Business Builder be able to help me find a niche in the construction market? Yes, because construction is a huge market, right? So absolutely, we can help you find a niche in the construction. It may not be the niche you want or the niche you're thinking of now, because like the niche you're thinking of now may not be good niches, or maybe not. So the answer is yes, we could. Yeah, right, good. All right. If you want to join the 9-Day Business Builder, not join, but sign up and join later and get a free month and free coaching from me, 90daybizbuilder.com. You need to go there. The deadline is tonight to sign up. So you need to go there right now, schedule your call for today, sign up today. Because today is the deadline, and then we're done. Cool, cool. All right, 2 more questions. I got to go. What books did you read and what did you, excuse me, hang on. What books did you read or what did you do to expand your vocabulary considering you hadn't gone to college? I read several hundred business books in my 20s. You go to my blogs, look up the 17 best books you should read, business books, at the Caleb Jones blog, I think it is. One of my 2 blogs. Go look. Did you give a shit about how perfect your English was? Yes, I wanted to speak correct English. If you don't have correct English, people think you're dumb. Really quick story about that. My son, when he was little, my son Josh, who has his own YouTube channel, when he was very, very little, he was 5 years old, he was raised, well, His biological father and some other people he knew were raised in Texas, and we lived in Portland, Oregon. So he would say Finn. I'm Finn going to do it. I'm Finn going to school. He was trying to say fixin', because in Texas say I'm fixin' to go to. So he said, I'm Finn. And I said, Josh, you can't say Finn. You can't say that. And his mom got mad at me. He's saying fixin' because Texas. Great. I don't care. If he goes to school and says Finn to his teacher's going to think he's retarded. And the other kid's going to make fun of him because we don't say Finn in Portland. Whether or not it's a good idea, it's right or wrong, doesn't matter. When in Rome, act as the Romans do. And he quickly stopped saying Finn. Good. Is anti-aging a growing industry or niched? No industry is niched. Industry cannot be niched. So anti-aging is an industry, therefore it's not niched. You need to look for niches inside the anti-aging industry, which is a massive industry. Is it growing? Yes, absolutely. Move from Canada to Panama. A lot of you Canadians are moving to Panama, aren't you? I know a guy, all he does, his business is location-dependent business, helping Canadians move to Panama. Talk about niched. It's all he does. And he is making money because you guys get the fuck out. It's great. I love it. Willing to change your view on it or no? Things seem stable. What is my view on it? You are misinterpreting my view. I didn't say I didn't say Panama is bad. I said their residency program is no longer one I recommend because it's not one of the best in the world, because it's not. Panama's great. Panama's fine. I don't recommend it as a residency program. There are easier places to get residency. But if you like Panama, there are a lot of advantages to Panama. Panama's fine. I don't have a problem with you going to Panama. It's great. What is the investment for the 9-day business builder? Several $1,000s, depending on the discounts you get. It is tax deductible, and you can make payments. Did you set up the U.S. LLC after cutting ties with Canada? Or you're asking him? Cool. All right. I got to go. For those of you interested in my other channel, Alpha Male 2.0, I'll be on there 1 p.m. this Wednesday. That'll be the last live stream I do from Paraguay before I go to Dubai next week. And you know what? I might have to reschedule the Unchained CEO live stream for next week because I will be very jet lagged. It's scheduled in YouTube. We may have to move it. Just give me a fair warning. Cool. 90daybizbuilder.com. Your deadline is today. Have fun.